Hi, my name's Jenna Levi. I researched document control this summer, and I was on the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center parking garage project in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm going into my 5th year at OSU studying mechanical engineering. So based on survey feedback from a survey I had sent out, I received 55 responses expressing that document control is the most difficult process to complete on a project, and I decided to address how we could standardize and improve the efficiency of document control. So I had responders rank 5 processes from most to least difficult, and document control came back in first with 30.91%, but it was also 46.4% when I took out the intern responses. And I had about half of responses were from interns, so it did affect my results. So because those interns had very different results, it motivated me in how I created my proposal prototype. So this would be done to clarify the project's organization and unlock advancements in construction application integration. And this benefits both the data recipient and data producer, who are interchangeable because the personas that upload the documents ultimately use them later. So since this was a design build project, the back and forth will not happen until we receive the initial drawings from the architect who are in contract with Ohio State. It is important to advance document control tactics because all personas involved need the latest information, and therefore together we can achieve advanced communication by maximizing resources available and improving document access. So the stakeholders shown are involved in all processes, and each of them have their own system of record and personas, which will be shown throughout my presentation. All of these documents that are shown here are also involved, but I will only be focusing on submittals and an individualized quality standard operating procedure. So although not all of the documents and systems of records are shown, they are used at some point. So here I've outlined successes and pains of our current document control plan. As you can see, we specify the roles of our quality control team with their responsibilities at the beginning of the project to ensure that all of our bases are covered. And we also conducted an owner, architect, and contractor meeting at the beginning of the project to decide how to plan to organize documents and make sure that everyone is on the same page. To the right, we have pain points listed, which I used as inspiration to eliminate with use of my prototype proposal. And these are based on both my personal experience and the results from the survey I had sent out. All right, so I am using the submittal process as an example for pain points we might see. So again, the architect, which is HDR/design group, they kind of work together. Design group is hired in by HDR to come out on site and work for them. So they are involved in the submittal feedback process because of their contract with OSU. The locations with bright green dots and the CDX exclamation are main pain points in this process and represent repetitive uploads between sources. All right, so I just kind of zoomed in on the first couple steps of that workflow, so it's the same thing as the last slide. The process starts with the subcontractor uploading the submittal to Procore, which Walsh has decided to use to communicate with subcontractors and the architect. So a project engineer shown above within Walsh will send it off with an automatic email alert to the architect for review, and then the architect will send it back through Procore. So going on to the next step within the submittal micro workflow process, once the submittal has been approved by all parties, a Walsh project engineer manually downloads the submittal and uploads it into SharePoint for personal storage. And then they also manually upload it into eBuilder for the owner to access. So as you can see, we do have multiple pain points, but they cannot be removed due to Walsh and OSU policies. So I decided to focus on more on how they could possibly be made easier than eliminated in the process. So this is my overall prototype proposal. It's a macro workflow. So rather than looking specifically into Procore or other systems that Walsh Turner joint venture and Ohio State utilize, I created a workflow to be completed before any project could start and continued throughout the length of the project to reduce the pain points that came up earlier on that submittal workflow. So the point of this prototype is to learn the full extent of the program, decide what features would be useful, and distribute the necessary information to those who should use it. So again, I'm just zooming in on that first step in the prototype proposal, which is learning the capabilities of the program being used. So here you can see on the right is the YouTube logo and an instructor, which indicates that the designated quality manager and a few quality representatives will spend some time watching YouTube video tutorials or learning about the program from a company representative in order to gain a full understanding of the functions offered by the program. So knowing this, the quality manager and representatives can create the document in the left gear, which is the quality standard operating procedure. So the QSOP will contain information that they find useful from those trainings and can use this throughout the project. So on to the next step, they move into the planning/training bubble. So once that QSOP is created, the quality team will move into the planning and training phase. So they will compare how all of the applications can be used together to reduce those pain points shown in the submittal micro workflow. And because Walsh does use Procore, SharePoint, and eBuilder, I showed those in the gear going from the QSOP. So the quality manager would lead the effort to create a plan to use throughout the entire project, and then, which is why the quality manager is right next to that plan gear. And then they would get feedback from another project on points that may or may not work, and then adjust accordingly. So that's the back and forth with the feedback. So here in the next step, the quality manager will take the plan and filter it, keeping the vital information that internal employees, such as the project engineer shown, would need to utilize throughout the project. Following that training, the project engineer or another quality representative would filter that information even more for the persona who would be receiving external training, which includes the owner's engineer, owner's representative, architect, or subcontractor teams, whoever they need to talk to. So each of these individualized trainings will have certain documents outlining what they need to know, micro training videos, mini workflows, and more that they can access later. So whenever a new project engineer and subcontractor, other persona begins on site, this training process starting at the project engineer would be repeated. So here we just see the overall prototype proposal again. So this plan allows everyone to be on the same page about where documents should be stored and efficient ways to store or upload them in the designated application. It would remove the amount of repetitive time taken to learn the application by ensuring that the quality team does this at the beginning of the project. And then if put into place, this workflow could have clickable links on each persona to click on their role and access the resources used in training that outline where and how documents should be uploaded and stored. Having a standardized plan set early on would allow team members to not take that extra time to search for important documents, and they know where to upload new documents to ensure that others are able to find them, and also reduce clutter. The entire team would also be able to utilize automated document management systems and other functions that might not be very straightforward, or they might not know about, or not think that they should take the time to sit down and learn this, because that quality team had already done it and already learned those functions. And then at the bottom right corner, you can see there is a quality representative placed with the repeating arrow, because they will be chosen to consistently review the plan, organization, and trainings, and then adjust accordingly if it's going well or not going well. This plan is crucial because it makes document transportation between data producers and recipients easier, as well as reduces the conflict between those who prefer paper over digital copies if they have the proper training. So here I've detailed those shared pains that I had mentioned earlier, which could be fixed with the use of my prototype. So that first pain is that there's no really solid training. So by adding this training, you're involving every persona and ensuring there's a standardized plan. There's also too many platforms and preferences, which could be solved by having that the quality manager decide that at the very beginning. The learning curve could be solved because they will have trainings and modules to follow instead of being kind of shoved into a new program that they've never used before without any direction. And then the one about paper versus digital, by having the knowledge to use digital functions, you could reduce that gap between those who prefer paper over digital. And then the downloading and uploading files takes a while, but by going through that training, you might have a function which reduces that download and upload time, which the quality team could help others to learn how to use. So does anyone have any questions?
Great stuff, Jenna. Just the question on your solution, obviously focused on kind of the process and the training. Were there any other changes to the technology that you noticed that needed to take place?
So it wouldn't really be changes with the technology. It would just be more research on how to utilize it to the best capacity that you can on the project. A lot of the issues that I did see while talking more in depth with some of those personas, I talked to the owner. He said that issues were he really just didn't know how to use the platform. So that's why I kind of went more in the training route rather than actually changing what we're using.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, I think that question becomes who's responsible for creating the training content? Should the software create it? Should Walsh create it? Or a third party like an Eagle Point or other training content providers?
Yeah, creating it and then being able to utilize it how it's supposed to be utilized.
Exactly.
So that's what I was kind of trying to blend together with my prototype.